Mayor Price, for having this town hall. I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak to you directly. And I also want to say how beautiful the promo for the city was that was done by the staff. What a talented group of people did that, that worked for the city. And I would like to note that it started with the James River shots, the beautiful shots of the water, and ended with the shots of the water, because that is the most exciting part about our city. I'm here as a citizen for Riverview Farm Park. I'm really excited that in the direction that our city council has taken to ensure that it remains parkland for the people. And I'm going to ask a question that somebody emailed to me. Is this working?
Yes.
Okay. Oops, gotta get my glasses on. Who couldn't attend tonight, but she wanted to ask the mayor. Let's see. Could you make sure that you or someone brings up the topic of renewing funding through the city manager for the city farm? We have to be on the budget. The 3-year funding allotment has been used. The city manager will present the budget for council in the spring, but we have to start now to make sure we are not left behind. Thank you.
So your question is about funding for?
Making sure that there's funding for the Riverview Farm Park City Farm allotment that's part of part of Riverview Farm Park that's now been, the city council has stated that that is going to not be understudy anymore, but it will be definitely zoned parkland. And so we need to get money in the budget so that we can help to develop, not develop, but create our park for the people who are so excited to have the opportunity to use and enjoy that gorgeous piece of property.
Okay. First of all, I'm going to respond to this, but I want you to understand this is my opinion. This is my view.
Okay.
I do not speak for city council. I have no power or authority to do anything without a majority of council doing that. My interpretation of what happened tonight and what I heard was the council took out the word study from a proposal which the city manager offered to have this property under study. In my mind, what has happened is that that property has now been taken out of the queue to be able to have something done to it. When you study property, you have a committee put up, and a process that I explained, I thought very succinctly at one of the meetings. My intentions was to have proposals presented and options presented to council, which the Planning Commission was ready to do, to bring in experts to show what the property could look like. To me, that requires a study to do that. So, at this point, I quite frankly don't know where it is on council. Council has not talked about the property. It has not been mentioned since that was proposed the other day where the word study was taken out. So in my mind, and what I was trying to do when we said study, leave it there so we can study it, so we can have proposals presented to us on the options of what the park wants to be. That would include an environmental study. It would include a traffic study. It would include survey of the land. It would include parks presenting what it is the options are. But right now, I don't know where we are with that process because we've removed the word study from it. Again, this is my opinion. So I don't know what council is going to do, and we will, I'm sure at some point, discuss that. I don't know where it is on the budget. That will be coming up as far as where we will be placing money, if it is, and I'll let you answer that.
Okay. Any funding for this point that would be for the city farm property would be a capital improvements plan, not an operating budget. That's generally where any type of improvements are taking place. There is not funding currently and has not been for the city farm property in the CIP. There is not funding there, and there is not funding in the operating budget. Again, going back to what the mayor said when there were discussions about a study, difficult to put funding in for something when you don't know exactly what it's going to be. But I also have to tell you, it's as the mayor mentioned, it has not been in the CIP, and that has to be discussions because there are other projects that have been in the CIP. And generally, we are pretty much at what we can afford. And we are taking a look at, if something comes in, something has to come out. And that's not a conversation or a discussion that we have and we take lightly from staff's perspective. Because there are libraries in there, there are public safety buildings in there, there's a number of other things in there. There are other parks and recreation facilities. There is a plan that's been out there that's been pushed back for any number of years for Stony Run, for fields. One of the biggest comments and questions we get are, what are we going to do for athletic fields for the youth? Those are the kinds of projects that are in there. And so generally, as I said, what can we afford as a city? And so those conversations have to take place at the city council level so that we can get some insight in terms of where they are. And that doesn't just involve, it's what is council comfortable with in terms of their capacity. Because what folks sometimes, and I'll get on my little soapbox here a little bit, what folks don't realize, it's like, we'll build this. There's a cost in the operating budget. And there's an amount that ends up in the operating budget because nobody just gives us $30 million that we don't have to pay back. There's a debt service cost associated with that. And that directly impacts the operating budget. And that impacts my ability to be able to give resources for the police department, to give resources to the schools, any number of things. Because there is limited dollars within the budget. We only see a certain percentage of growth. And while everyone is saying the economy, it is doing better, we have not seen it yet at the local level. We are not seeing what you're hearing is going on out there. For whatever reason, we are seeing slow growth. But again, we have to take that into account because we only have certain resources. We have to go on affordability and we have to go to capacity. And right now, we had a work session on the financial position of the city a few weeks ago, and we laid that all out for council. And they could see, this is what we have policies that says we won't have debt that's incurred more than a certain percentage of our assessed value. We have all those kinds of things, and we check those off when we're doing the CIP. So it's not just maybe as simple as it sounds, just put this project in there. I right now, absent some idea of what's going to happen at City Farm, I couldn't tell you if it's $1 million, I couldn't tell you if it's 10 million. I know folks have said, well, there was a plan that was done 30 years ago and it was a couple $100,000. Trust me, that is no longer the case. That is no longer the case. What's going to come out of there? That's a conversation that council needs to have. Excuse me. So we have some idea of what their priorities are. And again, it's a balance. I've got public safety, I've got school building requests, I've got any number of things. Council wants to do that balance. It's not that they don't support something, but they have to set priorities too to live within our means, because I think that's what you expect us to do. And I'll get off my soapbox and turn it back to the mayor.
Okay, next question. Yes, sir.